Thank you everyone for being here today. Dobry den. So as she mentioned, I'm Mathias-Felipe from the University of Navarra in Spain. So I'm grateful to have a space to share my study from data journalism to artificial intelligence. This is a practical application, an experimental study that I conduct at La Nación in Argentina. So sorry, I forgot the presentation. So here it is. So before I start, I want to show the agenda for today really quick. Let me just put the screen here so I can see you. Yeah. So as we have a short time, so I'm going directly to my theoretical framework. So La Nación is well known in the data journalism industry because despite of the lack of statistical data that affect most of the countries in the global south and more specifically in Latin America, La Nación was able to innovate and engage the audience in the news production, becoming a data journalism powerhouse in the region. The team has almost 10 years, so it's a long-term investment in the newsroom. And since then, they has experimented with different use of technology from open data, civic journalism, automated journalism, and they are also trying to engage the audience in the news productions or transforming, or either by the public as a source of data or asking them to help to analyze data. So having that in mind, I'm going direct to research questions because the experiment is quite complicated. So I'm trying to dive on that a little bit more. So this study was built on these research questions. What are the challenges and hurdles faced by La Nación in adopting new technology skills such as artificial intelligence and more specific computer vision? So to understand that, so La Nación is right here, as you can see. Argentina is like the sixth largest country in the world. So I went to La Nación from January to March 2020. I spent there like almost 3 months working with them. So it was a participant observation while I was also conducting interviews with them. So this was very interesting because at this time, La Nación was launching a new brand that was LN Naturaleza, or in English, La Nación Nature. And this is a new cross-editorial brand led by the data journalism team. So they were dedicated to cover the environmental topics under the lens of data. So while I was there, there was also another event that they were trying to implement AI in the newsroom, trying to bring new applications of that. And at the same time, there was a member of the team that went to Stanford to be a fellow there. And she studied almost 1 year about computer vision, AI applied to journalism. So while I was there, we had this, was a long-term project from the last government that was deploying renewable energy in Argentina. So the idea was, the project was called Renovar. The idea was to have 20% of the national matrix energy of renewable energy by 2025. However, the political stability and corruption across the region poses different challenges to track this development of the projects. So we decided to use her background about AI and computer vision and satellite imageries to track the constructions of solar farms there. So this was an investigative story. So as I mentioned, our colleague was at Stanford, and she had the opportunity to learn with previous projects that use satellite images to map solar panels, or map solar farms, or even detect some, for example, mine amber in Ukraine. So these ideas help us to develop this project. So based on that, we have the use of AI, and we know that AI is divided in several different areas. And here, what we tried to do was to use AI that was in the interconnection between computer vision and machine learning. Why? Because machine learning is divided in several areas as well. So 3 different types of machine learning. So we focus on the first one, that is supervised learning, because we had to train our data set with associated objects, as we are seeing here in the X-ray. And for we obtain our desired output. In our case was identify solar farms. So similar to what we are seeing here with the X-ray, so we did with solar farms. So this was necessary to collect data from solar farms in Argentina. So we tried to collect data from the solar farms that were already built in the country, but this data was not enough. So we had also to get some solar farms that was in the neighbor country, that was Chile, which has similar geographical features with Argentina, so it didn't make complicated. So I'm not going details about how we did that, because the idea here is to understand the challenge. So another challenge that while you're like studying how we could do that was about the satellite images, because satellite images are very hard to have access. They are very expensive. And more than that, they have different resolutions. And when you want to find a solar panel, it's different for the resolution that you wanted to find a solar farm. Of course, the solar farms are bigger, so you need less resolution. So this is not easy to find. And so it's not always, it's not all the satellites that are available for free. So that's one of the challenges that we had while doing that. So then we come up with 3, the main providers that we could have. Google Maps, that has high quality image, but the frequency in Argentina was not good enough, because the frequency was not the same as the other satellites. Then we have Sentinel-2 that is open and the data is free, so we could use that, but the resolution was not so high. And then we have Planet that is really expensive, but we have the high frequency and the high quality. So it was another challenge to find the best satellite image. So we had to use Sentinel because it was open and free, and we couldn't afford that, because if you see the size of Argentina, it's a huge country. So in order to best use that, we try to use the infrared, how can I say, infrared version of the image, because as you can see, the solar farms are in red, so it's easy to detect. So another challenge was the lack of skills and infrastructure in the newsroom. So La Nación didn't have the infrastructures to download neither download the images. So and also even though they have a data team is quite big, the number of professionals working with AI is very limited. So we work associated with this startup, and this collaboration was very important because the startup knows how to work with satellite images and detect images on this kind of satellite imagery. So this collaboration allowed us to conduct this investigation. And this was very useful because then we could publish this story that we detect that all the solar farms that were projected by the government were being delivered. However, one thing that the images couldn't help us to detect that was these solar farms were not connected among the other ones. So we couldn't, for example, they were done, as you can see, we could find the solar farms using the satellite images, but they are not working because you need to connect the transmission of the energy that was generated. So in theory, they delivered, but it was not working. So in a follow-up story, we could cover that. So this is an example of how we could use computer vision. Usually when we talk about AI in journalism, it's more about automated journalism or other applications that involve text. So in this case, it was about investigation and about using images and computer vision. So that's the 4 main challenges that I could face while I was there. So there is a lack of high resolution imagery that limits the newsrooms around the world to conduct this type of investigation. Also, they have this infrastructure is not available in all the newsrooms. Only the elite newsrooms, for example, maybe New York Times or Washington Post, but not all the newsrooms, and mainly in the global south. And also the absence of qualified personnel, because even though there are people who know about that, they are not specialized on that. And the other thing is requires significant investment from the newsrooms to build and deploy this technology on their newsrooms. So I think that's all. I hope I'm on time. Thank you for so much.